The envelope was thick, fancy, the kind people use when they want to look important. It sat on my desk like it was waiting for me to react. The name on it wasn't mine. Not really. It said, Major General Ava Morgan. Not Ava. Not sis. Not daughter. Just rank. I hadn't heard from them in years. No calls. No messages. Not even when I got hurt overseas. And now, suddenly, I was invited to Lily's wedding. No kind words. No, we missed you. Just a short note in Mom's handwriting. Behave this time. My boots were still dusted with the sand of an airbase I couldn't name, my mind still half in last week's briefing where we rerouted a convoy to avoid a roadside blast. But this little envelope carried more threat than the entire war zone. Lily was getting married, and I was finally invited to something. The last family event I'd shown up to, Dad's memorial, they'd already made the slideshow before I arrived. Not a single photo of me. 37 pictures of Lily's baby shower. Not one of my bronze star. My name wasn't even mentioned in the eulogy. I stood in dress blues beside the door like security, not blood. And now here it was, a wedding invite. A performance invitation. 5 years of silence. Not even a text the year I was injured. But sure. Come for the photos. Smile wide. Stand in the background so they can say, we tried. I rubbed the edge of the invitation between my fingers. It was embossed with pink lilies, her favorite. I used to braid them into her hair when we were kids, back before she learned to weaponize sweetness and I learned to bury pain. She was always the good one, the soft one, the one who stayed home. I was the one who left for something stupid, according to Mom. They all expected I'd come back in a year, give up on the uniform, go to law school like them. Instead, I stayed, and climbed, and bled. They never forgave me for it. When I was deployed 2 Christmases ago, they forgot to add me to the family Zoom call. Not a glitch. Not a mistake. I texted Lily after. She didn't reply. Later, I saw her Instagram story, everyone in pajamas, drinking cider in front of the fireplace. My stocking was missing from the mantle. She only shows up when there's a photo op. Lily said that once. I wasn't even out of basic yet. I didn't raise a soldier. I raised a daughter. Mom whispered that after my first deployment, no one asked who I became, only what I disrupted. I stood and walked to the mirror in my quarters. The uniform hung behind me, heavy, perfectly pressed. The silver stars on my shoulders caught the last light of the day. I hadn't decided if I would go, but I knew this. If I showed up, I wouldn't come as the black sheep they'd hidden from view. I would come as truth, the kind that didn't flinch anymore. I touched the collar of my uniform, met my own eyes in the mirror, and said it aloud. Quiet, cold, clear. I'll go, but not as your sister. As your reckoning. The driveway hadn't changed. Same cracked concrete. Same crooked mailbox with a M, half peeled off. My name used to be under that M. For 18 years it meant mine. Now, it just looked like someone else's front. The sun had already dipped low over Richmond, casting sharp gold lines across the perfectly trimmed hedges. Too clean. Too manicured. Like everything in this family, tidy on the surface, bleeding underneath. I stood there for a beat longer than I meant to. The last time I'd walked up these steps, I was in full dress uniform for Dad's funeral. I had flown in on a red-eye from Germany, saluted at the burial, then stood in the back of the reception like a stranger in my own bloodline. They'd forgotten to put out a seat for me. I knocked. Not hard. Not eager. Just enough to remind them that I still existed. The door opened. Lily. She looked perfect. Of course she did. Hair curled into soft waves, a white rehearsal dress that looked like it belonged in a lifestyle magazine. She blinked once when she saw me, like she hadn't expected I'd actually show up. Then the smile. Performative. Pained. Wow. You really wore the uniform, she said, stepping aside. Didn't think you'd lean so hard into it. I didn't answer. Just walked inside. The house smelled like lemon polish and lavender. Mom's signature. The scent of control. The kind of clean that masks the rot. Inside, the rehearsal dinner was already in motion. 14 people seated around the long mahogany table. Laughter. Clinking forks. Matching pastel napkins. 15 chairs. One unclaimed. Mine, I guessed. At the far end. Beside the kitchen door. The heat from the oven vent poured against my back, like punishment. Not beside Lily. Not beside Mom, or even the cousins I grew up with. No, they'd place me next to the catering staff's exit, like a seat reserved for hired help. I didn't sit right away. I scanned the room. No one said, "Ava's here." No one stood. No one even made eye contact, except for Cousin Bryn, who nudged the girl next to her and whispered something I caught. Security. I bit the inside of my cheek until I tasted copper. This wasn't a mistake. It was a strategy. Flashback. I remembered handing Dad a photo of my team from a joint NATO exercise in Ramstein. He didn't even glance at it. Just muttered, "Hope they gave you a desk with air conditioning." They always thought I was playing dress up. I finally lowered myself into the seat. The cushion had a small tear in the corner, probably hadn't been used in years. "Please don't start anything," Mom said, appearing at my shoulder with a refill pitcher in hand. "This weekend is about Lily." I looked up at her. Her pearls gleamed. So did her hypocrisy. "I haven't started anything," I said evenly. "You just never stopped finishing me off." She flinched, just slightly, then walked away. I stared at the table settings. Lily's fiancé, Andrew, gave a speech from the head of the table. Toasted love, commitment, family who always shows up. I raised my water glass halfway, then set it back down. My hand was steady. My pulse wasn't. The worst part wasn't the exclusion. It was the familiarity of it. This was just another mission where I was surrounded by allies in name only. Have you ever walked into a room that holds every memory you ever made and felt like a stranger? Like the chairs knew your name better than the people did? That was me. That was this. That was now. After dinner, I stepped out to the back porch. The night was warm, sticky with East Coast summer. I took a slow breath, hoping it might settle the storm inside me. Then I heard it, through the screen door, Lily's voice. Laughing with her friends. She acts like she's guarding nukes. Pretty sure she just pushes forms all day. I didn't move, didn't speak, just stood in the dark, hands behind my back, like the soldier they always joked I wasn't. But they were wrong, because one form I'd pushed this week declassified a covert rescue op in Kabul, one that saved 19 lives. And the reason I wore the uniform tonight? Because soon they'd see exactly who they tried to bury. They didn't laugh at first. Not until Lily raised her glass. The ballroom glowed, soft chandeliers, white tablecloths, golden runners, the kind of place you rent to impress people you secretly hate. Every corner was perfectly staged. The initials L+A frozen in a swan-shaped ice sculpture. A photo booth with props. A string quartet hired to play Coldplay like it was Mozart. But the seating chart was the real message. I found it on a brass easel near the entrance. My finger traced down the alphabetical list of names. Table 1, bride and groom. Table 2, parents. Table 3, bridal party. On and on. Until it hit me. Ava Morgan. Table 12. Small font. Slightly crooked. Tucked between the DJ booth and the catering exit. A different napkin. A chair without a sash. My name misspelled on the placeholder card. Not Major General Ava Morgan. Not even Ava, just E. Intentional. Precise. Like they were trying to erase me in plain sight. I took my seat quietly, back straight, spine locked like I was under inspection. Nobody said a word. Nobody glanced over. But I heard it. I told them not to make it too military looking for her side, Lily said, brushing past me in her designer gown, voice sugary sweet. Didn't want her to feel out of place with all her protocol. She didn't stop walking. She didn't have to, because humiliation doesn't always need volume. Sometimes, it's whispered between clinking glasses. I sat still through the salad course, still through the entree, still when my mother leaned over to the bridesmaid beside her and said loud enough for me to hear. We tried to raise her right, but she always thought the uniform made her more than family. Then came the toasts. My father stood first, glass raised, expression proud, to loyalty, to tradition, to choosing a life that uplifts everyone, not just yourself. He never looked at me, not once. Then Mom added her bit. To grace, she smiled, and to knowing when not to take the spotlight. The room chuckled. I didn't blink. Then Lily took the mic. She looked radiant, glittered in curated joy. Her voice rang with champagne confidence. To think, even my big sister made it tonight, she said. Flew all the way from wherever she guards doors now. Laughter. Sharp. Full. Not polite. Not accidental. The kind of laugh people only let loose when they believe the target won't fight back. She's the shame of this family, but at least she's punctual, my mother added, raising her flute. More laughter. And that's when I felt it, not anger. Clarity. This wasn't a dinner. This was a firing squad. And they handed me the blindfold, expecting I'd wear it again. But I didn't. I stood. Slowly. My chair made a soft scratch against the marble floor. Forks paused midair. The quartet stopped playing. I lifted my glass. Unshaken. The people I guard, I said clearly, outrank everyone in this room. Silence. Not defensive silence. Realization silence. I didn't shout. I didn't elaborate. I let the words fall like truth on polished marble. Lily's smile faltered. Her fiancé, Andrew, froze mid-sip. My mother's lips parted, but nothing came out. I set my glass down and sat back down. Calm. Composed. Mission complete. And that's when I saw it. Across the room, standing near the cake table. Andrew. Not laughing. Not blinking. Just watching me with a stare I hadn't seen before. Focused. Measured. Military. Then, slowly, his eyes flicked down to the stars on my shoulder. And everything shifted. The morning of the wedding was quiet. Too quiet. I woke before dawn, as I always do. Years of combat zones had trained me to meet the sunrise like an opponent. This morning felt no different. Except this battle wasn't with insurgents. It was with ghosts in chiffon dresses and tuxedos. I stood at the mirror in my hotel room, fastening the final brass button on my dress blues. The ribbon sat square on my chest. Combat citations, humanitarian commendations, theater service. Every color earned in sweat and blood. I didn't wear them for show. I wore them because they'd spent years pretending I was invisible. Today, I refused to disappear. When I arrived at the venue, a restored Southern manner wrapped in ivy and artificial kindness, no one greeted me. No family photos. No side hug from Mom. No, you look nice from Lily. Only the wedding planner, who blinked at me like I was lost. Vendors through the side entrance, she said, already turning away. I'm not a vendor, I replied. I'm the bride's sister. And her superior officer's superior officer. She blinked. Then I walked past her. I entered the ceremony hall just as the string quartet began tuning. A row of groomsmen were whispering jokes to each other. Bridesmaids in blush pink clicked toward the altar in sync. But at the front, Andrew, Lily's groom, stood alone, adjusting his cufflinks. And then he saw me. His face changed. Not shock. Not fear. Something sharper. Recognition. He turned to Lily, whispered something. She followed his gaze and froze. Her jaw clenched. Her cheeks paled. Her perfect image cracked like a china doll. I took my seat, second row. Not because it was offered. Because I claimed it. The ceremony began. Vows were said. The crowd sighed. But Andrew fumbled on the final line. With this ring, His eyes darted back to me. Silence. He stepped away from Lily. A hush fell. And then, slowly, deliberately, he turned and faced me. The room held its breath. And then he saluted. Not casual. Not for effect. A formal, crisp military salute. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, voice steady, "I'd like to acknowledge the highest-ranking officer I've ever served under, Major General Ava Morgan." The room shattered. Gasps. Murmurs. Chairs shifting. Lily's mouth opened. No sound came out. My mother looked like she'd been slapped. And I didn't move. Didn't nod. Didn't smile. Just returned the salute. Clean. Unshaken. Then I stood. Slowly. Every eye turned. Andrew lowered his arm and added, "She saved my unit in Ramadi. 4 years ago. She doesn't just push papers. She pushed death back long enough for all of us to breathe again." A reporter, someone Lily had invited to cover the event, lowered her camera and whispered to her assistant, "Get this on the wire. Now." The whispers turned into ripples. Ripples into waves. A group of guests near the back, veterans clearly, rose to their feet and saluted too. One after another. No one told them to, but they knew. Because real rank doesn't need introduction. I stood, surrounded by civilians who once dismissed me, and watched the same people who mocked me the night before scramble to Google who I really was. Lily tried to grab Andrew's arm, tried to whisper something in his ear. He pulled away gently, looked at her, and said with quiet finality, "You should have told me who she was." Tears rimmed her eyes. But they weren't from love. They were from exposure. I left before the reception began. Didn't wait for cake or speeches. Didn't need to. Because truth had already been served. Outside, I passed a young boy who had seen it all from a distance. He looked up at me and asked, "Are you a superhero?" I bent down and smiled. No. Just someone they couldn't keep buried. I walked away. And behind me, the internet exploded. Hashtag Salute to Ava trended by midnight. News outlets ran the story under headlines like, "Bridal Showdown turns into military honor moment," and "Family shame, nation's hero." But I didn't repost a single one. I didn't need to. The hotel lounge was nearly empty by midnight. A few guests lingered, nursing cocktails and gossip, their eyes flicking up from their phones every few minutes. Phones now filled with me. I sat alone near the back, hands folded, posture still perfect. Old habits. My ribbons were still pinned. My shoes still shined. But inside, the weight was gone. Not revenge. Not victory. Just clarity. Then I saw her. Mom. She stepped in like a shadow without a sound, her pearl earrings catching the light, her shoes too loud for a woman trying to tiptoe back into my life. She approached slowly, carrying something wrapped in tissue paper. A gift bag. I thought maybe you'd be here, she said. You always liked quiet corners. I didn't respond. Just looked at her. Waited. You made quite an entrance today, she said, almost smiling. Everyone's talking about it. The salute, the standing ovation, the video. She was trying. But it wasn't apology. It was damage control. You think you were embarrassed today? I asked, voice calm. Try doing it for 20 years while your family treated your purpose like a phase. She looked down, fingers tightening around the bag. I didn't know how to be proud of something I didn't understand. No, I said softly. You didn't want to try. There it was. Her mouth opened again. And that's when I reached into my purse and pulled out the letter. The printed copy. Crisp. Archived. Declassified now. This is from 5 years ago. A character reference sent anonymously to my promotion board. Said I had emotional instability stemming from unresolved family trauma. I laid it on the table in front of her. Her eyes scanned it and froze. It wasn't from me, she whispered. But the phrasing? I tilted my head. You told Lily that exact line the day I joined ROTC. I remember. Silence. A longer pause this time. Then she sat down slowly, back stiff. We were afraid, she said, of losing you, of not being the ones you needed anymore. So you buried me, I replied, because I didn't fit your version of who your daughter should be. She swallowed hard. We thought you'd come back eventually, be normal again, but you just kept rising. That last line said everything. It wasn't just misunderstanding. It was resentment. They couldn't control me, so they diminished me. Until now. I stood. Tell your friends whatever story you want, I said. But don't tell them I stopped coming around because I was distant. Tell them the door was never open. Her voice cracked. Ava, you're still family. I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, I didn't feel the need to earn her love. Family doesn't rewrite you into someone easier to forgive. I left her there with the letter still on the table. Her fingers never touched it. By morning, the video had 7 million views. By afternoon, I had 3 requests for speaking engagements, a call from a senator's office, and a message from a girl I'd mentored years ago. I always knew you were that strong. But now the world sees it too. I didn't go back to the wedding brunch. I didn't answer Lily's text that said, let's talk. Because sometimes walking away is the last mission. And the bravest one. Sometimes the apology you need isn't spoken. It's the silence you finally choose for yourself.